Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to another how-to origami tutorial, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys how to make the origami Baby Yoda. So what you're going to need for this tutorial is one square sheet of preferably green and white paper. Right, this isn't a very good green, but Baby Yoda's skin roughly matches this color, so that's what I'm choosing to use. You're also going to want a black marker, and if you have any tools you like to use to keep your creases very sharp, go ahead and grab that too. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by folding corner to corner and edge to edge, what I usually refer to as the primary folds. So we're going to start corner to corner like this. And just as a warning, I chose this piece of paper because the colors work so well. However, it's not cut very well to square, so hopefully it doesn't get worse as this video progresses, but we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Alright, so now I'm folding the other corner to the other corner. This fold was already creased for me because I messed up in a previous take, but we'll keep that between us. All right, so now that we've done corner to corner, we're gonna go edge to edge. And as I always say, take your time, line up your edges as best as possible. Once you've lined everything up and you've pressed it down, go ahead and give it a nice solid crease, either with your fingernail or another tool to help press down. Unfold, and now we're going to do the final edge to edge. Just like that. Alright, and unfold. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our colored side and have that face up, and we're going to fold all four corners into the center. Now on this step, it's best to eliminate as much of the gap as possible. So as we fold these corners in, there's going to be a slight gap between the two edges, right? So we want to minimize that as much as possible, so keep them very, very, very accurate and very tight. While I am very proud and happy of this design, it is on the difficult side. I will say that. It's on the difficult side. Medium difficult is where I place it. So if this is a challenge for you, don't be discouraged. Origami can get difficult. Instead, go back to a previous video or another video on the internet and practice some of the basics. Practice some easy model or something that's more on your level that'll give you some practice, because honestly, origami is about practice. If you run into a fold you've never seen before, even if you're really experienced, you can mess it up. So just don't be discouraged. Go back. Try something a little simpler at first, and then work your way up. All right, and this will be the last one for me. All right, so it's actually not too bad. Our gaps are pretty small. Now what we're gonna wanna do is we're going to fold and mark fold. So flip it over, and I'm going to take this edge and fold it into this center crease right here. So I'm going to fold it back, line it up as best I can, and a mark fold just means I'm going to press down enough that we can see the crease and call it good. And I'm going to do that on both edges. All right. Just like that, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. I'm I'm gonna rotate because I'm right-handed. All right. Now, once you've done the mark folds, you'll notice I'm back on this side, right, with the flaps facing up. I'm gonna fold this edge into the farthest mark fold, right? So we're gonna line it up here. There's gonna be a little bit of bubbling going on, which is when the paper tries to crumple up on itself. So keep an eye on that. Try to make sure before you crease that your paper flattens out really well. And now we're gonna do a full fold here and then unfold. Awesome, we're gonna do the exact same thing. So now I've rotated, so this is the other edge. I'm gonna fold that to the farthest mark fold. All right, and now instead of unfolding this one, I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna fold this edge into the center crease right here, or what was the center crease. In doing so, I'm gonna allow this little colored tab to pop out, right? I don't wanna fold that little triangle with this, so I'm gonna bend it back first so that it's out of the way, and then I'll lay it down, so that way I know I'm not accidentally folding it back. If you do fold it, it's not a big issue, but it just makes it look a little bit better in the end. All right, so fold it to that center crease, just like that. And it's always a good idea when you're doing that kind of pinch and fold move to flip it over and press again on the actual crease. All right, so now we're gonna do the same thing. So if you want to fold this under first, like we did in the other step, you can do that. If you prefer to just have it flat like this, the other way to look at it is we're just going to make a mountain out of this crease, pinch it and fold it over, and as you do so, just kick that little triangle underneath out. I bet you guys can guess what those little triangles are gonna become. Right, and again flip it over and fold down on the crease. There we go. So next on the agenda, we're gonna fold in our new diagonals. So now that our base is no longer square, it's been kind of rectangularized, is that a word? Oh, it's a word now, I'm making it a word. Just kidding, I don't have that authority. But we're going to fold along this diagonal right here. So imagine a line going through like that. This is where it starts to get tricky because there's a thick amount of paper in the middle. So you have to make sure bubbling doesn't occur. The best way for me to do this is I like to find where the original diagonal crease is in the middle, right here, pinch it. And once I do that, I can then flatten it out, line up the creases, right? So this crease should be in line with this. Once I line it up, press down slowly to make sure there's no bubbling. I'll do the same thing on the other side. And once it feels really flat, I know I have a pretty accurate lineup for my crease. So then I can go ahead and finalize it. Just like that. All right, unfold. So we've done one of them, now let's do the other. Okay, now let's unfold. So this step we're going to start to shape Yoda a little bit. So, or Baby Yoda. What's his name? It's Grogu. Grogu. I knew that. Definitely didn't have to look that up. Anyway, I'm going to mountain fold here on the center crease, just like that. And we'll end up with a shape like this. Now, on those diagonal creases that we just made, we can tuck this portion out of sight, like that. So we're just gonna mountain fold on those diagonals we just made, and then we're gonna do a valley fold on this center crease that we just folded back on, right? So we have it like this, and then I'm gonna just kind of push this in, and without taking his ears with them, I'm gonna close it up. So it should look like that. And we're gonna do that on both sides. Okay, now that you've done that, make sure it's lined up. So I noticed when I folded it like this that my corners are not quite lined up here. So I'm gonna take a second to realign things and recrease, all right? It's not preferable to have to do a kind of recrease when you're this far into a model, but it's better to line it up now when you catch it and get it solidified so that it doesn't get worse as the model progresses. Okay, now from here, we're going to fold this, I guess, not the hood, but part of his cloak. I guess we're gonna fold that down. Once we fold that down, I'm going to fold back up. I'm gonna start using my pen, and I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. There we go. It's a little bit better. So I'm gonna fold this edge up to be parallel with this edge right here. I'm not gonna fold it up all the way. All right, kind of like this. Whoops, focus is being weird. There we go, like this. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with this edge. And the goal here is to just mimic that kind of fabric, that cloth kind of appearance of whatever the cloak is that Yoda's wear. I'm not very experienced in Star Wars lore, so if you know if there's a specific name for the Yoda cloak thing, let me know in the comments. All right, once we're here, we're going to give him the characteristic that makes him unique from Yoda, which is kind of his downward floppy ears and his big eyes. So we're gonna make the downward floppy ears by taking this edge and pulling it down. You notice that you can fold almost inside of his head with the ears because of where the paper starts. So I'm gonna fold it to about here, right? See how I'm folding into his head? You can do that. The only real catch here is it's best to make his ears symmetrical. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Once I've done that, I'm going to round out his head a little bit by folding these corners back. And normally this kind of detailing is saved for the end, but because of the nature of this piece, it's really hard to do these details later. So we're gonna go ahead and do them now. All right, there he is. Now, here's where you go to the drawing. So I'm just gonna draw two big eyes and then his little grinning mouth. All right, ready, go. All right, so that is my attempt at a Baby Yoda face. I am an origamiist, not an artist. I can't draw, it's really bad, but hopefully it's decent enough, and you guys will probably blow me out of the water when you're making your own model and you do some crazy art here. All right, so what we're gonna do next is we're going to flip it over for a second, and we're going to fold. I'm actually gonna draw the crease in here because we won't see it anyway. We're gonna fold along this line right here. it goes from basically the base of his head. Yeah, it's just at the base of his head. So to do that, you can just kind of pinch at that point and fold back like this. Okay, it's kind of a weird fold, so I'm gonna show it from this angle a little bit, but this is the angle that is easiest. If you do it from the back, right here, and you just fold it forward like that. Once you're here, keep pressing down, right? Keep pressing down. I'm gonna rotate it to try and fit it into the screen better, but keep pressing down, and we're gonna flatten these things out. So you gotta keep a lot of things in mind here. You gotta keep this crease in a straight line. You gotta keep this crease in a straight line. And then these guys right here have to be as even as possible. Best way to gauge that is by looking at these little triangles and trying to make them identical, right? So with all those in mind, go ahead and try and flatten these pieces down. All right, now that I've done that, this is what the result looks like. So as you can see, these triangles right here are a pretty good indicator of how symmetric this fold ends up being. So it's a good idea to kind of shift that around until it's lined up, and do the same thing on the other side, and you should have a straight crease here and a straight crease here. All right, let's flip it over, and there's our little Yoda dude. What we're gonna do here now is we're going to fold a triplet fold right here, and then we're gonna fold this in half. So I'm gonna do the easier one first. I'm gonna fold this bottom edge, right? Make sure you don't have him in the wrong orientation, okay? Because I've definitely done that and it looks weird, trust me. So we're gonna fold this bottom edge up to this center crease right here. And again, you gotta watch for bubbling here, because there's definitely going to be a lot of that. And once you got those all pressed out and you've lined it up, go ahead and make sure that you're creasing through all of the layers and unfold. Okay, so now we're gonna do the triplet fold up top. So this one's a little more difficult. If you haven't done one of these before, it might take a few tries, but there's no problem with that at all. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of estimate a third of the way up, bend the paper back, and then take this piece and divide it in half and fold that to the edge, right? Now it's just a kind of trial and error thing. So you got to try and keep it as even as possible while also making sure that you're in line with the creases, right? So we're trying to do the triplet fold from this center crease to the edge here. All right, so I really struggled with that triplet fold for some reason. It's definitely not the best one I've ever done. It's kind of uneven, but it'll work. We'll take it. Once you've done that, go ahead and unfold it and press it flat. And then they should all be valley folds from this perspective. So if you have one, depending on how you did the fold, there's multiple ways to do it. Some people have their own styles. But if you have one that's a mountain fold, go ahead and turn it into a valley fold as well. Yeah, that is such an uneven crease. Oh well, we'll live with it. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this edge into this edge right here. So I'm gonna take it, fold it over, and I'm lining up this part to this part right here. So it should look like this. All right, once you folded that, unfold, and then do the same thing on the other side. All right, and unfold. So this is what it's looking like now. And now we only have a few little angled folds to make before we can finish this up. So I'm gonna make some marks. I don't recommend you do these marks, but this is for me to better display it. You'll notice that we have crossing lines here and here on the lower half. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make a diagonal that goes out from that point, like this. Okay, so to do that, we take that point where the lines are crossing, and we're going to fold over, and we don't need to fold across the whole way. It's just this little end right here. So I'm gonna fold it over, find that crossing point, and then I'm going to line up, whichever way. It's actually easier to do it this way. Fold it on the point, and then line up the creases here, so that way you know it's diagonal. Like that, all right, and unfold. So that should make a crease that goes diagonally from that point. So from this, on this side, I'll show it again. So we're going to bend the paper this way, and then I'm going to find that point where the lines cross right there, and then I'm going to line up this crease with this crease, right? So it should be one continuous line. Once you do that, crease just that little portion and unfold. Now we got to do the same thing here. So let's flip it over, and just for reference again, this is the top side, right? And then flipping it over, this is still the top side. So there's crossing points here, roughly, and also here. So our creases are going to go diagonal this way. And we do the same thing to accomplish that. So I'm going to bend the paper over from that point, and then line up the creases. And unfold. All right, let's flip it over. Now we're ready to finish this thing up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by folding on this inner part of the triplet fold, and also on this side right here. What that will end up doing is it'll force this fold that we just made. Oh, sorry. When we start folding here and here at the same time, it's going to force this fold to become a valley fold, the one we just made, that angle. And we can press this back. That's going to bring this into a three-dimensional shape. See that? See how it's becoming like the inside of a cube? Right, so I'll show that one more time. We're going to fold this fold up and this fold up, and we're going to let this crease become a mountain fold and go back. The end result should look like this. See that? Once you do that, to keep it in place, you'll notice that we have this little pocket, right? I'm gonna zoom in even more. That's as much as it'll zoom in, so I'll bring it closer. All right, let's see if it can focus. There we go, almost, yep. So once you fold this thing up, there's this little pocket right here where my thumb is that we can tuck it into. All right, so fold it up to here, and then we're going to take this corner and I'm going to tuck it underneath into that pocket, right? Like that. See how that works? So go ahead and make sure that fits well and is creased well. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, once you've done that, we're going to do something very similar to the bottom. So I'm going to fold this edge up like that and push this side in. And that crease we've just made, that diagonal, should allow you to fold this across. So from this angle, it'll fold over like this, right? It'll turn into a little flap. So you're pushing in from this side, pushing in from this side, and then you make a valley fold along this crease. Should be able to line up this crease, go on focus, this crease and the edge here, and fold it over. All right, and do the same thing with this corner. Just like that, and the result should look like this from this angle, and this from this angle. Cool. Once you've done that, you'll notice that this is like a little lip that extends over the rest of the bed. So you can do a fold down like this across the full length of it. That evens out the bed and it locks it in place. Like that. See? All right. If this is confusing, which I'm sure it is, go ahead and rewind and watch what I'm doing. This is one of those designs that is really hard to make steps for and to write down on paper. All right, so once you've folded it really well, creased it, it should look like this. Now the very last thing is to turn this top thing into the cover, right? So right now it's open. You can see into it like that. We want to fold down on this other third, and we also want to lock it in place. So this last step to do that, to fold this top part down, is a little bit freeform. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing. If you look at it from this angle, right, kind of from the back, we have another intersecting point right here. That little X marks the spot. Now, we also have a reference crease that runs this way. I'm going to fold from this crossing point and have a crease that runs parallel to it going out. Technically, we could do this step earlier when we did that on the other ones, but I prefer to do it at this last step because you can't fold it all the way down. So I'll show you what that means. So once you've found those reference points that I've marked, this crossing point right here, and then this reference diagonal, you can then eyeball this crease that I've made with the dotted line. It doesn't have to be precise, just kind of eyeball it and pinch a fold along that line. Once you've done that, you can then tuck it down, and all these other folds that we've made should allow this to happen pretty smoothly. But you can fold that down and tuck it underneath the side here so it stays in place like that. You'll notice it won't fold all the way down into like a 90-degree angle. Like, see, this right here isn't 90 degrees, but this will not be 90 degrees. And that's okay, that's what we want. So once you've tucked it down, you can pinch it And then you'll see this little part that sticks out. Go ahead and fold that back. These steps should lock everything in place and keep them from wanting to pop out. There we go. See that? So we'll do that on the other side. So again, I'll mark them. We've got this crossing point right here, and we have this reference line. So then make a parallel imaginary line like that. Kind of eyeball it, pinch it like that, and then fold it down so it tucks into the side. Like that. And we're gonna fold this guy back. Alright, so now the model's done. To finish it up, what we're gonna wanna do is find all those places, like in this three-dimensional folding portion, that are not well pressed. So use your fingernails to find any sort of lumps or not well folded area, and press them down so that it stays exactly where you left it, exactly how you want it. And then round everything out. So Baby Yoda's pod isn't rectangular, it's a little bit oval. Unfortunately, origami doesn't really lend itself to circles very well, so we're just going to round out the corners as best as possible and kind of shape his little hood. So I'm just kind of rolling things out with my finger and bending in the hard edges. And in the end, it should look like this. Very recognizable little carriage, little pod, three-dimensional shape, which makes it difficult to fold, but very rewarding in the end. And you can see our little Baby Yoda. So anyways, guys, this is how to fold the Origami Baby Yoda. I apologize if it was difficult to follow at some points, but I really wanted to make this model a recognizable Baby Yoda. And to do that, I needed some three-dimensional folds. And those aren't easy. They're not easy to design, and they're not easy to describe, and they're hard to show. So you might want to have to go back, watch things a few times, and get an idea for what I'm actually folding. I promise you that once you've practiced it a time or two, you'll see what I'm doing, and it's not as difficult as it first looked. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys are able to make it. And yeah, I hope you're satisfied with this design. I'm honestly kind of proud of it. It took a lot of time to make, but I think it looks good. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next tutorial.